Hey, greetings. Michael Didier here. Going through Isaiah still. We did Isaiah, what did we do? I think we did Isaiah 25 last week. And I wanted to point out, we've been talking about really the last days. 24, we're talking about, I think, the great day of Yahovah. Behold, Yahovah makes the earth empty, makes it waste, distorts its surface, scatters abroad its inhabitants. He's not scattering abroad his inhabitants. It's the earth's inhabitants. And we see this over and over and over. He goes on, the earth is also defiled under its inhabitants because they've transgressed the laws, changed the ordinances, broken the everlasting covenant. Well, in the next chapter, one of the things that he says that I think is very significant, he says this: he will swallow up death forever. Swallow up death. And my master, Yahovah, will wipe away tears from all faces. Who are the all faces that are left? His people. The rebuke of his people he will take away from the earth, for Yahovah has spoken. What Yahovah says, Yahovah does. He's taking away death. He's got people who are already still alive, who have never died at this point. But we're going to see something today that I've never seen before. It's a real game changer for me because it kind of throws me into a little bit of a loop or a spin or what's going on here. Some things that I thought said one thing, maybe don't say that. So these are things that we always have to we're always working to build our understandings, line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little. Well, let's get started. That's the verse that I wanted you to see. He will swallow up death forever. How long is forever? That's a long time. He's talking about a new heaven and a new earth in this next chapter. Are we going to go back, possibly, to the antediluvian world where men lived 1,000 years? He's swallowing up death forever. Oh my gosh. What is that going to look like? And it looks like it's going to be during the millennial kingdom. Well, let's take a look at this. I think we're going to find some very interesting things today. Let's go to 26. This is where we're going to begin. He says, in that day. The next chapter is going to talk about the same thing. In that day, in that day, in that day, in that day. 4 times it says it. This song will be sung in the land of Judah. We have a strong city. Elohim will appoint salvation for walls and bulwarks. This is the land of Judah. Judah's land. Who's he talking to here? Open the gates that the righteous, this says nation. And maybe this is okay, but it strikes me as singular. Open the gates that the righteous goy. This is not goyim. Goyim oftentimes is translated as nation. That changes things. Is it a nation that's coming in, or is he doing it one by one? Look at what it says. Open the gates. I'm going to read it on the right. That the righteous goy who keeps, guards, shamar is the word that they're using there. Guards or keeps. I think guards is actually better because there's some things that a man can't keep unless he's a priest. But he can guard them, can't he? And I think shamar is a really good word translated as guarding. Keeps, guards, the truth may enter in. This is the goy who keeps, guards, the truth may enter in. This seems to be one man at a time. That's what I said. But you know what? We're going to see the same word down below, again translated as nation. We'll have to take a look at that also. In 27, it says, those who come, he shall cause to take root in Jacob. Israel shall blossom and bud and fill the face of the world with fruit. There's good things going on here. Open the gates. Then he says, thou will keep him. That's thou. That's Yahovah. Will keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee because he trusts in thee. You know, this is the first verse. This is just a personal thing that I memorized. I was 25 years old. This is the first Old Testament verse that I actually memorized, where the place, even the Isaiah 26:3 is. It's something that struck me hard when I read it, and I liked it. I didn't understand the context. There's so much in this chapter that I did not understand at that time. I couldn't understand Jacob versus Israel. Seemed like they were the same person. What's going on here? I remember having a conversation with a friend. Why does it say this? We didn't know. Verse 4, trust in Yahovah forever. For Yahovah is everlasting strength. For he brings down those who dwell on high. You know, there's a lot of people that dwell on high right now. They have the high life. But they're not going to have the high life forever. They've got to learn to trust Yahovah. He brings down those who dwell on high. The lofty city, he lays low. He lays it low to the ground. He brings it down to the dust. What does it say? Dust. To dust is the inevitability of every man. Unless in your last days, you know, maybe there are going to be some people who won't ever die. Oh, but look what we found today. It's not coming yet, but it's coming. The lofty city. Babylon. Babylon has fallen. Has fallen. No, it said Babylon has fallen. Has fallen. Is that the lofty city? You know what? I think Babylon is more than just a city. I think it's a way of life. It's how the rest of the world lives. They live in Babylon, following the ways of Babylon. And all of that is going to go down in the end. The foot shall tread it down. The feet of the poor. The steps of the needy. Look at that. Who's tromping down Babylon? The poor and the needy. The lofty city. Yeah, I think it's Babylon. What other lofty city are we talking about? It's the whole earth that's going to be destroyed. What were we just reading here? Just a couple chapters earlier. Behold, Jehovah makes the earth empty and makes it waste, distorts the surface, and scatters abroad the inhabitants. They're saying it's going to stomp down Babylon. Is this a rebellion in the ranks? The ones who are being ruled over have raised up themselves with the help of Yahovah, of course. Verse 7. The way of the just is uprightness. Oh, most upright, you weigh the path of the just. You know what it doesn't say? He doesn't say you weigh the path of the unjust. Jehovah does not weigh the path of the unjust. They just perish from the earth. Oh, you know what? We have so many loved ones, so many people that we want to see come to the knowledge, walk in the truth. Look what he says. This is what he says about the wicked man. Well, he's going to talk about the same thing for the righteous man as well. But if a wicked man turns from all his sins which he has committed, keeps my statutes and does what is lawful and right, he shall surely live. He shall not die. This is the man who turns from his wickedness, starts keeping Jehovah's ways. They say you can't do it. I say you can. None of the transgressions which he has committed shall be remembered against him. Why? Because the righteousness which he has done, he shall live. Do I have any pleasure that the wicked should die? No, Jehovah has no pleasure. But he's still a righteous Elohim and he can't let him live. But now, look what he says about the righteous. Are the righteous, once they're righteous, guaranteed a place before Jehovah? I say no. He says when a righteous man turns away from the righteousness and turns away from his righteousness and commits iniquity and does according to the abominations that the wicked man does, shall he live? See, this is why we got to have the fear of Jehovah. We don't want to turn back to our old ways. All the righteousness which he has done shall not be remembered. Why? For two reasons. Because of the unfaithfulness which he is guilty. Those are the things that he should have done and didn't. And the sin which he has committed. That's the things that he did that he shouldn't have done. So you can go both ways. Because of them, he shall die. And this is what's happening to the world right now. They're being destroyed. He's going to weigh the paths of the just. Ooh, I think that's really neat. 26:8. Yes, in the way of thy judgments, O Jehovah, we have waited for thee. The desire of our soul is for thy name and for the remembrance of thee. This is Jehovah's people. You know what? There's been men through the ages, like me, like others, who have waited for the return of Jehovah. Come, Jehovah, redeem us from the earth. Oh, redeem us from the earth. Isn't that so interesting? Set us free. Bring us back to our land. What does he say? No longer will they say, as Jehovah brought back Israel's seed from the land of Egypt. But great is Jehovah who brought back Israel's seed from the north and from all the places which he has scattered them. That's what we're waiting for. Those of us who understand. He goes on, with my soul I have desired thee in the night. Yes, by my spirit within me I will seek thee early. For when thy judgments are in the earth, the inhabitants of the world will learn righteousness. What does that remind you of? It reminds me of this, Deuteronomy 5. Surely I have taught you statutes and judgments, just as Jehovah my Elohim commanded me, that you should act according to them in the land which you go to possess. We're going to go and possess our land in these last days. I think it's going to happen fast. Therefore, be careful to observe them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the peoples, who hear all these statutes and say, here's why I'm saying it, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. What are they just saying? The inhabitants of the world will learn righteousness. For what great nation is there that has Elohim so near to it as Jehovah our Elohim is to us? For whatever reason we may call upon him, he hears the prayers of a righteous man. Remember, those are the Ezra men who are the righteous men. And what great nation is there that has such statutes and righteous judgments that are in all this law which I set before you this day? There is no other nation on earth that has the righteous laws, statutes, judgments that Israel has. Let grace be shown to the wicked. He will not learn righteousness. No, it's got to come from the heart. You can't force anybody to learn righteousness. They've got to choose to deny themselves and live according to Jehovah's created purpose, whether they be a man or a woman. Let grace be shown to the wicked. He will not learn righteousness. In the land of uprightness, he will deal unjustly. You know, these are the kind of people. There's going to be people that will come to us in the last days. Come to the pillars of fire and smoke just because they know it's the smart thing to do. Their heart's not with us. Their heart is not with Yehovah. But they're going to act the way, they're going to look like they're part of us. But Yehovah knows the heart. And I think that is what we're going to see on Yom Kippurim, the last Yom Kippurim before we go into the millennial kingdom, is he's going to sort out who's with him and who's not with him. Maybe that's what I'm looking at. Let grace be shown to the wicked. He will not learn righteousness. In the land of uprightness, he will deal unjustly. He's just not part of us and will not behold the majesty of Yehovah. Yehovah, when your hand is lifted up, they will not see, but they will see and be ashamed for the envy of people. Yes, the fire of your enemies, the fire of your enemies. That's so weird. I had to look at some other things. The fire of your enemies shall devour them. The fire of your enemies. You know, it could be that it is there. Remember in Yasher, when the sons of Jacob were fighting the Amalekites and the Canaanites, attacking their fortresses, or really even when they came after them later on, after I was about 5 years or so after the incident with Shechem. Yehovah turned their weapons on them. They'd shoot an arrow and it would come back on their own people. Is that what they're talking about? Here, look at what this says. Yehovah, this is ASV, American Standard Version. Yehovah, thy hand is lifted up, yet they will not see. But they shall see the zeal of the people and be put to shame. Yea, fire shall devour thine enemies. See, that makes more sense. Fire will devour thine enemies. Yehovah's coming back, and he's going to use fire as the judgment, it appears to me. Yehovah, thy hand is lifted up, but they do not see. This is Darby. Yet they shall see thy jealousy for the people. Jealousy. His jealousy for his people. Yeah. And be ashamed. They thought they were his people. But they're not his people. You know, we talk about in God we trust. Everybody. I'm reading a book right now. Oh, it's got so much Christian stuff in it. I'm about ready to turn it off. They're talking about how a man is saved. And just the Christian rhetoric that we always hear. They're going to be ashamed. We've learned lies. And now they're going to see the truth and they're not going to know what to do with it. It's so foreign. Yehovah, thy hand is lifted up. I really like this. But they do not see. Yet they shall see thy jealousy for the people, his people, and be ashamed. Yea, the fire which is for thine adversary shall devour them. Here's the last one. Oh, Yehovah, your hand is lifted up, but they do not see it. Let them see your zeal. Let them see your zeal for your people. Remember, Yehovah says he is a jealous Elohim. and be ashamed. You know, there's a lot of people right now who are doing things to Jehovah's people, thinking that they're doing righteousness. That's what Isaiah 57 is all about. Here, let's go there real quick. We got time. What verse am I on? I'm on 11. Isaiah 57. Look at this. The righteous perishes, and no man takes it to heart. Merciful men are taken away, while no one considers that the righteous is taken away from the evil. They're hurting themselves. They're cutting themselves off from men who could teach them righteousness. And they're doing it. Thinking that they're doing God a favor. But they don't know him. Do you think America is the only one? Do you think the United States is the only one that believes that they trust in God? We trust in God. Trust in God. All the nations do that. All the nations think that they're righteous. But they're Babylon. Do I sound angry? I don't mean to sound angry. Let's go back. 12. Yehovah, you will establish peace for us. For thou will establish peace for us. For thou hast also done all our works in us. Done all our works in us. Yehovah, here's Bible in Basic English. It's a paraphrase. Yehovah, thou will give us peace, for all our works are the outcome of your purpose. Thy purpose. For thou hast also done all our works in us. Yeah, it's not as clear. I like our works are the outcome of your purpose. Yeah, you know, we're doing his instructions. We're his servants. They're the outcome of his purpose. 13. O Yehovah, our Elohim, masters besides thee have had dominion over us. We have had masters who have had dominion over us, or at least have thought they had dominion over us in some cases. Maybe they don't. A lot of times they do. But by thee only we make mention of thy name. These are the people who had masters over us. Here's a translation of this. Thy name, thy Sham is what this says right here. Thy Sham. The Kaf says thy name. Here, O Yehovah, our Elohim, lawmaker and judge. Masters, these are the other Elohim, the other lawmakers and judges. Besides thee, have had dominion over us. But by thee only do we make mention of thy name. No, we are putting away those Elohim. He brought us out of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. You shall have no other Elohim existing before thy face. That's what they're saying right here. Look what he's saying now. This is he's delivering us. Masters beside thee have had dominion over us. But by thee only shall we make mention of thy name. They are dead. They will not live. They're gone. They are deceased. They will not rise. Oh, this is so interesting because we're going to see that we're going to compare the unrighteous dead with the righteous dead. They're dead. They will not live. They are deceased. They will not rise. Well, where does anybody die and then live? They're deceased. They will not rise. Therefore, you have punished and destroyed them and made all their memory to perish. Not only has he destroyed them, but he's destroyed their seed. There is no memory of them. But look at the contrast of that. Thou hast increased the nation. Well, this is exactly what I was talking to you about in verse 1 or 2 up here. Thou hast increased. Thou hast added to a goy. That's what they're saying. Added to a nation. I just don't see the plural there. And that lamed before the goy says 2 or 4. I don't know what to do with it. It's not a bad read. You have increased the nation, O Yehovah. You have increased the nation. He's saying it twice. You are glorified. You have expanded all the borders of your land. I like that. Expanded all the borders of the land. Look what it said in Isaiah 54. Enlarge the place of thy tent. This is talking about the desolate one, the barren one. Talking about me. The ones that's been rejected. Let them stretch out the curtains of thy dwellings. Do not spare. Lengthen thy cords, strengthen thy gates. Enlarge your tents, enlarge your territory. Isaiah 54 is talking about those men who are bearing righteous sons. More of the sons of the desolate than those of the Baaled woman. Hear that? Isn't that interesting? We're talking about spiritual sons. More spiritual sons. A man can have more spiritual sons than a woman can have flesh sons, is exactly what they're talking about. Not to worry. It's a beautiful chapter. You have increased the nation, O Yehovah. Thou hast increased the nation. Thou art glorified. Thou hast expanded all the borders of the land. The earth is Yehovah's and all those who dwell in it. You know what? That's not the case right now, is it? But I think it's going to be the case in the future. Is that what the millennial kingdom is all about? I hope we see some of the things that I found this week. The curse that's been on the earth, I think, is going to be lifted during the millennial kingdom, that 1,000 years. We'll see. 16. Yehovah, in trouble they have visited thee. They poured out a prayer. This is us, the nation, the righteous nation, the righteous goy. They poured out a prayer when thou chastening was upon them. Look what he says. As a woman with child is in pain and cries in her pangs. They're comparing Israel, Zion, if you will, to a woman in labor. What's the labor that's going to take place? You know, I looked at this and I thought, oh my gosh, look what's happening. As a woman with child is in pain and cries out in her pains when she draws near to the time of her delivery. So we have been in thy sight. This is Israel. We are in labor. I think we're even in labor, even now. But it's going to get worse. You know, Carissa, they got a thing. She's got an under duress driver's license. And she did some research to find out what it takes to get the address changed on her license. I said, don't worry about that license. It's an under duress license. Don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. Unit 4 or Unit 1. Who cares? Well, they probably care, but I don't care what they care about. It's under duress. But to get it added, now you've got to get a new license. Have you heard about the new license? It's a federal license. You can still get a state one, but you can't go on the airplanes anymore. So before, I was able to go on the airplanes with a church license. Now I can't go on the planes anymore. Carissa can go on because she's got the invalid state license. But now they want to have you get a federal license. This is exactly what I said would happen. You take the state license, and they want to do the federal license, and they want to do a world license. And before you know it, you're in over your head. You keep doing the things that they require of you. You be the sheep that do the things that they want you to do. Sometime you got to learn to say no. Enough is enough. I'm not going any further. And I don't care what you do. I'm not doing it. As a woman with child is in pain, it cries out in her pains when she draws near to the time of her delivery. Which is what I have here. 17. Yahweh's people are like women to him. Yeah, as a woman. That's what it says. As a woman with child. This is Zion. We have been with child. We have been in pain. We have, as it were, brought forth wind. Now, look what it says. We have not accomplished any deliverance in the earth, nor have the inhabitants of the world fallen. You hear what they're not accomplishing? They're not accomplishing any deliverance in the earth, nor are they destroying the world's inhabitants. That's what they're not accomplishing. But look what Yehovah says. He says, thy dead shall live. No, actually, this is Isaiah talking about this. Thy dead shall live. Together with my dead body, they shall arise. Did you hear that? The dead, the righteous dead, are going to live. Thy, that's Yehovah's. Together with my dead body, they shall rise. This is arise. They shall arise. Awake and sing. Did you hear that? The righteous dead are going to be raised up. How come I never saw that before? Together with my dead body. Oh my goodness. This puts a whole new spin on things. Yehovah's righteous dead through the ages. Can you imagine seeing Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, seeing them again? David is going to be raised. Oh my gosh. That has implications for Ezekiel. We're going to look at that in a few minutes. Thy dead shall live together with my dead body. They shall arise, awake, and sing. You who dwell in the dust. How many people are dwelling in the dust right now who were Yehovah's people in the past? You who dwell in the dust, for your dew is like the dew of herbs, and the earth shall cast out the dead. Did you hear that? We have been with child. We've been in pain. We have brought forth wind. We have not accomplished any deliverance in the earth, nor have the inhabitants of the world followed. Do you see that in the context? The earth shall cast out the dead. Come, my people. Oh my goodness, we got to talk about this for a second. The dead bones in Ezekiel 37. Let's take a look at this. Remember, we have not accomplished any deliverance in the earth, nor have the inhabitants of the world fallen. Think about what we're going to see in Ezekiel. Let's just read a little bit of it. I'm going to read this, but we're going to come back to it. I want to see it in the context, 37 1 through maybe 12 or 14. Then he said to me, Son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel. The whole house of Israel? Maybe he's talking about Israel from the beginning. Spiritually born men who are coming back to life. Ooh, maybe bone of thy bone and flesh of thy flesh has even more meaning for a woman than we imagine. He's bringing back bone to bone, flesh to flesh. Sinews are coming on. Does that include our women? I think it may. Then he said to me, Son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel. They indeed say, our bones are dry. These are the dead speaking. Our hope is lost. We're dead. We ourselves are cut off. Therefore, prophesy and say to them, thus says Jehovah, thus says my master Jehovah, behold, O my people, I will open your graves and cause you to come up from your graves and bring you into the land of Israel. This is Ezekiel. This is about the dry bones. Isn't that exactly what we're talking about here? Your dead shall live. Together with my dead body, they shall arise. The earth shall cast out the dead. Oh my goodness. Is this Israel becoming as the sands of the sea and as the stars in heaven? You know, right now it doesn't seem like there's hardly any Israel on the earth. There's lots of people who think they're Israel, but they're not spiritually born Ezra men. Men who kept Jehovah's ways. Is this Israel becoming as the sands of the sea and as the stars of heaven? Now it makes more sense that we will see Israel like that. We've never seen Israel like that. Even in their glory, they weren't like that. A nation without number, an exceedingly great army. Look at that, an exceedingly great army. We're going to see that in Ezekiel. What does it say right here? Deliverance from the earth, nor have the inhabitants of the world fallen. These men who were dead and now are alive, aren't going to die. How do you fight somebody like that? Oh my goodness. Let's look at Ezekiel 37. Here it is right here. I just want to go through maybe 12 or I forget what it is. I think it's 14. The hand of Jehovah came upon me and brought me out in the spirit of Jehovah and set me down in the midst of the valley. It was full of bones. What does it say about the Lord's Prayer? Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff strengthen me. Isaiah 40 talking about those who, let me go there. Isaiah 40. I just want to check it real quick since I'm talking about it. We'll come back to this. Valley full of bones. We're still in verse 1. Isaiah 40. 40. Have you not known? Have you not heard? The everlasting Elohim, the Yahovah, the creator of heaven and earth, neither faints nor is weary. His understanding is unchangeable. He gives power to the weak, and to those who have no might, he increases strength. Well, that's certainly me. Even the youth shall faint. These are the people who never get tired and be weary. And the young men, the strength of the world, will utterly fall. But those who wait on Yahovah shall renew their strength. Is this renewal of their strength even from death? It may be. I've never seen it before, but it may be. But those who wait on Yahovah, how many have waited on Yahovah through the centuries? Thousands upon thousands upon thousands. But those who wait on Yahovah shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. It's pretty impressive. They were dead. Now they're walking. Now they're running. Oh, we got much more to see. Let's go back to Ezekiel. Then he caused me to pass by them all around, and behold, they were very many in the open valley, and indeed they were very dry. Very dry. What happens to the bones that have been around for centuries? They're very dry. And he said to me, Son of man, can these bones live? So I answered, My master, Yahovah, you know. Again he said to me, Prophesy to these bones and say to them, O dry bones, hear the word of Yahovah. Well, these are bones who have heard the words of Yahovah. Thus says my master Yahovah to these bones, Surely I will cause breath to enter into thee. Or you, maybe it's ye. And you shall live. Talking about bones, all the bones. I will put sinews on you and bring flesh upon you, cover you with skin, and put breath in you. This is ruach in you. This is all breath, ruach. And thou shalt live. Then thou shalt know that I am Yahovah. Remember, he said, He's Yahovah. He's taking death away. Then you'll know I am Yahovah. So I prophesied as I was commanded. And as I prophesied, there was a noise and suddenly a rattling, and the bones came together, bone to bone. Indeed, as I looked, the sinews and the flesh came upon them, and the skin covered them over. But there was no ruach in them. And he said to them, Prophesy to the breath, prophesy to the ruach. Prophesy, son of man, and say to the ruach, Thus says my master Yahovah, Come from the four winds and breathe, O breath, and breathe on these slain. These are the dead men. Breathe on these slain that they may live. These are people, many of them, who are put to death for being righteous men. So I prophesied as he had commanded me, and breath came into them, ruach came into them, and they lived and stood upon their feet, an exceedingly great army. There is the army. We have not accomplished any deliverance in the earth. Oh man, can you imagine what the world is going to think in these last days when these men rise up from the four winds? What do you say? The four winds. Come from the four winds, O breath, and breathe on these slains, that they may live. Oh my goodness, here's a giant army that's all of a sudden raising up. Can't be killed. What is the world going to do with that? Even the youth shall be weary, and the young men shall utterly perish. But those who wait on Jehovah shall renew their strength. Oh, puts a whole new spin on that verse, doesn't it? So I prophesied as he commanded me, and breath came into them, and they lived and stood on their feet, an exceedingly great army. Then he said to me, Son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel. These are all Israel through the ages, brought back to life, never to perish again. Probably going to have a different body after 1,000 years, but he's bringing them back to life. You think he's bringing them back to life whole, strong? I think so. An exceedingly great army. Exceedingly great army. I'm not to yet. I wanted to talk about 14, but we're in 11 still. Let me finish. He came, Son of man, but these bones are the whole house of Israel. We ourselves are cut off. Therefore prophesy and say to them, I did that. Open your graves and cause you to come out from your graves and bring you into the land of... Oh, no, I didn't. Therefore prophesy to them and say, thus says my master Jehovah, behold, O my people, O my people. Did I do the last one? Yeah, I did. I will open your graves and cause you to come up from your graves and bring you into the land of Israel. A lot of these guys have never been in the land of Israel. Then you shall know that I am Jehovah, when I have opened your graves, O my people, and brought you up from your graves. You see this over and over and over? Does this sound like exactly what we're talking about? Just right around the great day of Jehovah? Boy, maybe it's a greater day than we even imagine. I always thought about the world dying, but it may be more importantly about Israel living. Oh, man. And I will put my spirit in you, my ruach. Now they're saying ruach. It says ruach. They put breath, 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 ruach. It's all ruach. Now they said ruach. I will put my ruach in you, and you shall live. And I will place thee in thy land. Then you shall know that I, Jehovah, have spoken it and performed it, says Jehovah. This is what inspired me that when Jehovah says things, he's going to do it. We're going to see it over and over. Depend on it. Live as if what he says he's going to do. That's our safety. Well, it's going to change. He's changing subjects now. So I'm going to go back to where we were. Look at this. Isaiah 66. Oh, I have more things that I want to see too. Where did I see that? There was something about a great trump. Oh, where was it? Boy, I wish I could communicate to you all the things that I found this week. It's really hard to remember some of these things. Before she was in labor, she gave birth. Look at this. This is Isaiah 66. The earth is going to give birth. What did it say? We have been with child. We have been in pain, yet we have brought forth wind. Now it's the earth who's going to bring forth her sons. Look what it says. Before she was in labor, she gave birth. Before her pain, this is Zion. Before her pain came, she delivered a male, a zakar. Is the word they're using there? That's a male. Who has heard such a thing? Who has seen such a thing? Shall the earth be made to give birth in one day? Uh-oh. That flies in the face of what I've been saying for years, that this was about Passover. Don't get me wrong, Passover is still where spiritually born men are born. But when is the earth going to raise up its dead? Let me go to Leviticus 23 for just a second. I just want to check something. Leviticus 23. We're going to blow a trumpet. Was it on Yom Kippur? Yom Kippurim? Oh, no. It was in, yeah, that's where it was. Leviticus 25, I think. Let's go there. Leviticus 25. Sabbath, year, and Jubilee. This is the Jubilee. I think we're looking at a Jubilee. Remember, Jubilee is the time where Israel's seed goes back to their land. It's the time that there's going to be a trumpet blown. And I don't know where I saw it. Maybe it's coming. Maybe it's coming in a future chapter. Maybe I still have a few more verses in this chapter to go through. Maybe it was in there. But there's going to be a trumpet that's going to be blown. And they call it the Great Trumpet. What greater trumpet could there be than this one that is blown on the 10th day of the 7th month in the year? It's actually the year prior to Jubilee. It's 6 months before we go into our land. We're going to have in the 49th year, we're going to blow the trumpet. Here it says, this is what it says. Then you shall cause the trumpet. This is the shofar. Here it is, the shofar. Then you shall cause the shofar to sound on the 10th day, the shofar to Taruah. That's pretty cool. On the 10th day of the 7th month. In the day of coverings, you shall sound the shofar throughout all the land. This is the great trump. We're going back to our land. We have to see when this, I got to find that verse. I'm not sure where it is. If I can't find it today, we're going to find it for next week so that you can see it, because this is really important. But let me finish reading this verse. Throughout the land. I'll read it again. Then you shall cause the shofar to Taruah, sound. Great sound. That's a great sound. That's the Taruah is all about, a great sound. This is the trumpet. On the 10th day of the 7th month, in the day of coverings, you shall sound the shofar throughout the land. He goes on. And you shall consecrate the 50th year. This is the 49th year that you're doing it in. And proclaim liberty throughout the land to all the inhabitants. It shall be a jubilee to you, and each of you shall return to his possession, and each of you shall return to his family. Does that sound like a returning the dead and bringing them back to their land, returning to their families? Oh, my goodness. We're going to be with our fathers. What an amazing thing we're going to see. But that looks to me like it's going to happen on the 10th day of the 7th month. Ooh, that's pretty interesting. That's maybe 6 months. Before, remember, when we went into the land, the very first thing we did was what? We had a Passover. We circumcised all the men of our households, and then had a Passover, and then went into the land. If this is the Jubilee year, that makes me want to find out. You know, I know a man who put together a great chart for the Jubilee. I want to find out what he says is the next Jubilee. And which number Jubilee is it? Because you know what? I think he's got it numbered pretty much from the beginning of time. Something worth looking at. Is this going to happen in a Jubilee year? We don't even know the schedule, or few know the schedule. But there's ways to figure some things out. The last Jubilee that we can actually identify in the scriptures is Hezekiah. And isn't it interesting that this business with Hezekiah is in Isaiah? Maybe it's in Isaiah because Jehovah wants us to see when the last Jubilee was, so that we can figure out when a Jubilee year is coming. Is it more likely that this is going to happen on a Jubilee year with a great shout? I think it is. At least in light of the verse that I found yesterday or the day before. Let's go back. All right. Let's read this one in context. This is 66, Isaiah 66. Before she was in labor, she gave birth. Before her pain came, she delivered a Zakar, a male. Who has seen such a thing? Who has heard such a thing? Shall the earth be made to give birth in one day? There it is. The earth is giving birth to whom? The dead. Those men who are in the dust. Together with my dead body, they shall rise. Or shall a nation be born at once? For as soon as Zion was labor, she gave birth to her sons, a great army, to cause deliverance in the earth, and to see that the inhabitants of the earth fall, because they're going to try to destroy us. Oh, they're afraid of us. Well, look at this. This has vast implications. And I thought about this one just this morning. This is David. Look at what it says about David. You have shown me great and severe troubles. No, you who have shown me, thou who hast shown me great and severe troubles, shall revive me again and bring me up again from the depths of the earth. There it is again in Psalms. I had to look at that. I remember thinking Ezekiel talks about David. Look what it says about David. Ezekiel is the new kingdom, the building of a new temple. That's what Ezekiel's all about, especially the end of Ezekiel. But look what it says. This is 23 and 24. I will establish one shepherd over them, and he shall feed them. Who? My servant David. David! Who wouldn't want to follow David? The greatest king that Israel ever had. The greatest warrior that Israel ever had. The one who expanded all the borders of Israel. Who's going to be the one shepherd? David. He shall feed them and be their shepherd. And I, Jehovah, will be their Elohim. And my servant David, a prince among them. We talk about the prince coming in the gate. It's David. I, Jehovah, have spoken. There he is again. I, Jehovah, have spoken. Look what the next verse says. This is 34. This next one is, I think, 37. David, my servant. Here, let me refresh that. David, my servant, shall be king over them, and they shall all have one shepherd. They shall also walk in my judgments and observe my statutes and do them. Then they shall dwell in the land that I have given to Jacob, my servant, where my fathers dwelt, and they shall dwell there. They, their sons, and their sons' sons forever. And my servant David shall be a prince forever. Oh my goodness. This puts completely new light for me on what's going to happen in these last days. There's more. Let's go back. 26. Where did 26 go? 12. That's not what we want. 26:19. All right. Here, this is another one. And many of those who sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake. Hear that? There's going to be some who are going to awake. Some to everlasting life. Everlasting life. They're not going to die again. Died once. The spiritually born are not going to die twice. Some of them aren't going to die once, it sounds like. If it happens to be in the last days that they're one of Yehovah's Ezra men. He says, some to everlasting life, some to shame and everlasting contempt. I think the everlasting life ones are going to die or raise a lot earlier than the ones who are going to have everlasting contempt. Everlasting contempt. What does that even mean? They're going to be destroyed in the end. They'll be judged. They'll see, oh, we blew it. Okay, well, they're going to be destroyed. They won't remember it. Nobody will remember them. They had their time on the earth. Okay, he says next verse, come my people. Jehovah's great day. Come my people. Enter your chambers. Shut your door behind you. Hide yourself as it were for a little while until the indignation is past. He's raising us up, but he's going to shelter us, keep us safe in this great day of Yehovah. And look what he says, for behold, Yehovah comes out of his place to punish the earth's inhabitants for their iniquity, their sin. The earth also disclose her blood and will no longer cover her slain. Well, it talks about later on that they're going to be a testimony in the earth. The slain, the dead, their worms are going to continue. The fire is going to continue. They're gone, but their worm and their fire is going to continue as a sign to us, perhaps. Don't turn away. Well, I didn't. I was really hoping to see more of that trumpet. Let me see if in that day in that day when all the great trumpet is blown, all will gather together. When the great trumpet is blown. Hell, maybe it's in next week that we're going to see it. Let me just see 27:13. And so it was in that day the great trumpet will be blown. Yeah. So what day are we talking about? This is the day that we're talking about. In that day. What did it say in this verse? In that day. This is the day that the great trumpet is going to be blown. I think it's got to be Yom Kippurim. Anybody who's going to make it through Yom Kippurim is never going to die again. That's what it looks like. We'll see. At any rate, we're going to see more next week. I found this amazing. And the ramifications of what we've seen today, hopefully I pointed it out to you well enough so that it will have an impact on your life, I think is really quite amazing. At any rate, thank you for joining me. I love you guys. And we'll see you next time. Bye now.